Hard Rockology Show, the latest from Heaven Below. Tomorrow Never Comes from their Deadlight Sessions. And let's continue the talk with Patrick Kennison, lead guitarist and vocalist for Heaven Below.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. So, like we were just talking about, we just had a chance to play Damaged, and we also had a plan, just like I said, we just heard Tomorrow Never Comes, two of my favorite tracks. And I'm going to go into Bleed the Sky. I mean, it's almost like the first three tracks on this album tend to be my favorite tracks on the album, so once you go a little bit into, I guess, Bleed the Sky a little bit, I mean, because in a way, they're kind of, all three songs seem to blend together a little bit.
Yeah, it was obvious to us that the album opened up like that. Bleed the Sky was the last-minute track. I think I even had to have Chad come back to the studio and bring some of the weird drums again. I didn't think it was going to make the album, and it was one of those things. The song just kind of kept building and building. And it's one of those, without getting too deep into emotion, it's just one of those looking back at regret and saying, I'm still here. People have fucked me over. Been through money, had money, lost money, had money again, and lost more. And you just sometimes when it's quiet and dark, you go, wow, I guess I'm making it through. I'm not dead yet. So that's the whole vibe behind Bleed the Sky, and really just learning from mistakes. I think that's what you're supposed to do in life, is learn mistakes and then apply them to future things. And that's what Bleed the Sky totally is, or that's where I was coming from, that standpoint, with all the turmoil I've gone through from Union Underground to moving to LA, one of the most difficult cities to get out there and really shine past everybody else. And it's just showing you that's the whole thing with that song.
Now, I know we've had a chance to touch on The Needle Lies Again, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I want to ask you about the track Between the Truth, because at the radio station, that was one of the tracks that I actually selected to put on the radio, and the response from the listeners on our station for that track, it's actually one of the highest rated tracks on the station right now, so congratulations there. Now, when you were putting this album or EP together, were you anticipating that any one particular song would be a fan favorite, or were you surprised at some of the response you're getting? And more specifically, I guess I'll ask you, are you surprised that on our station, Between the Truth is actually one of the most popular songs?
I am. I'm very surprised by it, and I'm definitely an artist that's guilty of being behind the curtain and surrounding myself with the material, and I can't always tell what the great song is. I'm just too busy trying to get the lyric right or get the guitar part right. And that's a good time that I'll look to the other guys in the band and they'll say, dude, this is the song right here. And I'll be like, really? I wrote that one while I was driving home and my stereo was turned off, But I always associate songs with how I came up with them. And maybe that's not a good way for me to assess whether they're good or not, I remember writing Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman in literally less than 10 minutes. And, look what that did for that band. So with Heaven Below, I got to just let the reins go. I got to let go and say, here's the songs, and whatever comes out, comes out. If I start micromanaging it, I'll start to find reasons why one song is better than the other. When the truth is, people just listen, and they just let it hit them, just the same way that I listen to the new Avenged Sevenfold or, an Accept album. I just let it hit me. I don't analyze it.
Yeah, I kind of like the intro to this song. It's very interesting. Did you come up with that, or did Jesse help you with that?
Jesse did the guitar solo that's reversed. I came up with the monk. We called it the monk vocal. That's the real, that real super low thing. That's just a few tracks of me, and I had shown up in the studio. My throat was kind of sore, and I was screwing around as the song was starting with the engineer, and I did it as a joke. I just found the key of the song, and I just went, and the producer said, can you do that just a couple more times? I was like, why do you want to use that? I'm doing that because I'm making fun of my throat hurting. He goes, no, it sounds cool, watch. And sure enough, he put some chamber reverb on it, and on the effects you hear, and it sounds like some evil, they call it the evil monk. So that was a happy accident how that got on that song.
So the song No More Heroes, I did notice it has to be one of your longest Heaven Below songs. Tell us about that one. That's obviously people want to know who's the person maybe dying in your arms. I mean, that's a very haunting opening lyric, and every time I hear that, you kind of almost shed a tear in a way. I mean, it's that emotional.
Yeah, I derive a lot of our songs or get the inspiration from movies. I'm like anybody. I'm just like everybody else. I'd like to watch movies and be entertained. And I'll see a movie and I'll get into the character and I'll be like, wow, if they're really a believable character. I was watching Django Unchained, or whatever movie I was watching, and a lot of times after the movie's off and I'm in my house, I'm like, I gotta write a song like the way that person would. If they only had 3.5 minutes, that character had 3.5 minutes, what would the song sound like? And that's kind of how No More Heroes came to be. And on a personal note for me, just like a lot of people, my grandmother was extremely close and very supportive of my music. And she died before she could see me do what I do. But, I was like, that was my hero. So I just... it sounds cheesy, but I wrote a song about my grandma and about people on the silver screen that die, and you're like, I can't believe this person's gone, but here I am.
Another song on the EP called "The End of Days." It's got some backwards sounding guitar on that one too, also, right?
Yeah, that was one where we were gonna replace the programmed drums with live drums. And once I got a vocal on it and we started messing around with the guitars and putting the tape machine backwards so it played backwards like an old Jimi Hendrix or whatever, we thought, we're going to leave the drum machine on it, And I think half the band wanted to be live drums. The other half, I said, no, we gotta just leave that drum machine on there. Let's go ahead and let it be like some of the Smashing Pumpkins stuff that I liked in the 90s. Sometimes in that stuff, Billy Corgan would just leave a drum machine instead of doing live drums, and that works once in a great while.
So if you had to pick a track off this album or EP, I mean, is there a favorite for you on this album? Or I guess in a way, because it's your own baby, you had a hand in every song here, it's kind of hard for you to choose a track that you would really gravitate to. If you were going back and saying, you know what, I want to listen to something, is there a track on this album that you'd go ahead and put in and listen to?
Yeah, it kind of changes every few weeks, but I'm really proud of Tomorrow Never Comes, because I thought that song would never see the light of day, and I was kind of sad about it because I felt that it had some really good spots. And the fact that we left it alone and then came back to it, and I think it was the 7th arrangement, it finally worked, and I was like, oh my God, I thought this song was dead. And so maybe I'm connected to it. That's right now, Tomorrow Never Comes is one of my favorites, but I gotta admit, when I hear, The Needle Lies Again, it's hard not to feel the emotions about who it was written about too. So it's an emotional album for me, but it's very therapeutic to get it out there.
Yeah, it's probably one of the heaviest songs on the EP too. I mean, you can tell it's got a whole bunch of different arrangements like we talked about earlier, but yeah, it is one of the heavier tracks on the EP.
Yeah, it was important to me that it wasn't entirely acoustic. It was kind of a happy accident, but as much as I like Jar of Flies and stuff like that, some of the songs needed a little bit of crunchy electric guitar just to push those little areas over the edge just a little bit. And that's why Tomorrow Never Comes and No More Heroes, it does have full band in it. I think that's what keeps it from being one sound, the whole record.
So being that we're coming into the tail end of 2013, what are the plans for Heaven Below? Or is there anything you want to let the fans out there know what to expect in the last couple months of the year?
Yeah, of course, everybody wants us to get on the big major tours, and we're always working towards that. But it's tough to get on those tours. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of labels with power out there that will get their bands on a tour, not because they're popular, but maybe because they have a little more promotion or push than the next band. But we intend on getting on one of those tours. But in the meanwhile, we have a cover EP that I don't have a date on it yet. We were talking about maybe by the end of the year. Each band member chose a cover song from their favorite legendary band, and we were able to get a major celebrity on one of them, one of the coolest celebrities we've ever worked with, and I won't say till it comes out. But yeah, the cover EP will be coming out next, probably by the end of the year, and we've already been working on a concept album, not unlike Operation Mindcrime or Pink Floyd The Wall, and we laugh at how ambitious that is for us to do, but the truth is we're entertaining ourselves first. So cover EP, and next year there will be a concept album that I promise will be probably the best stuff we've done, because it's pretty exciting just to work on it for us. It's feeling good to us.
Well, we didn't mention this at all in the conversation yet, the EP cover, and then you also had the toe tags. I mean, tell us a little bit about that. I thought that was a very interesting concept, the toe tags, and there's a picture of each member of the band, obviously, on the toe tag.
Yeah, that was another one of those goofy ideas. Every time we've done a photo shoot, we have a great photographer, Adam Hendershot, renowned photographer up here in LA, and he's a young guy, and he got me hip to this idea. He said, whenever we do a photo shoot, bring in a goofy idea, any idea at the end of the day, even if you think it's stupid, and I want to shake the photo session up. He goes, I don't care if it's you bringing, a rubber ducky and shampoo. Just bring something that's not expected. So we had made this sludge that was supposed to look like the little girl pointing down on the Blue album, the self-titled album, and we ended up putting it on our faces and just doing goofy stuff, and we were laughing about it, and sure enough, some of the photos of that came out great. And once again, for the Deadlight Sessions, I was like, we can't just do a band photo. And then I thought, it's called the Deadlight Sessions. My brain goes right to a morgue with a light flickering, and it kind of looked like that while we were in a circle making the album. And I thought, who needs to see our faces? Let's take the sludge shots of the sludge on our faces, put it on a toe tag, and then take pictures of each of us lying on the slab like we're dead. And it just seemed to make sense for the album, and people seem to really like it. I love those kind of concepts where it almost reminds you of a movie, or, when I was a kid, I used to watch Creep Show. I love that stuff, or Tales from the Crypt, So I just putting that stuff in there. Well,
I do have to say that it is an interesting concept, and I've never seen that before. When I first saw it, I was like going, this is a brilliant idea. I mean, it's really cool. You can barely see your faces, but and you see the picture of the toe, and you just described it better than I could. Okay, we have one more song, the single off the record, The Needle Lies Again.
Yeah, that one was really, like people know, is really close to home. I've been fortunate enough to have toured with some of the great bands out there, and people go see some bands, whether it's Manson or Zombie, and these theatrical bands, and people think it's nothing but cocaine and whores backstage, which it is some of that. But I gotta be honest, a lot of these guys are so much like you and I. They're making the same jokes, goofing off, being funny, and I was lucky enough to hang with Paul a few times before Slipknot would just decimate the place when they would play. And I gotta tell you, that guy was awesome, and he was a riot. He was funny, and he liked to make people feel good. And then he'd put his mask on, and he'd get on that stage, and Satan himself played bass on the stage. So when I got the news, like everybody else, I was just devastated. It's like, why is it always people like Dave Williams from Drowning Pool, or Dimebag Darrell, or Paul? You never hear about asshole people dying. I'm not naming any names on the asshole, but that's painful. And all I could do with my grief was write that song. So that's where it came from.
That's going to about conclude the interview, the Deadlight Sessions. If you don't have it, make sure you run out and get it immediately. It is that good. And Patrick, Matt, and I want to thank you for coming again on the Hard Rockology Show. And why don't you introduce The Needle Lies Again for our listeners?
Yep, this is a song dedicated to one of the coolest musicians I ever met on the planet. Anybody that came in contact with him knows exactly what I'm talking about. This is The Needle Lies Again for Paul Gray.